Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Ephesians. Got it on, Cody?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Facebook and YouTube land. We're in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 25. Who's going to read?
How far are you gonna go? 25 through what?
Let's just, what you got? Amplified?
Yeah.
Let's do Amplified and
King James.
King James, right?
Sure.
Go 25 through, it looks like 30.
Well, there's 33. You just wanna go through all of it, or?
Hang on a minute.
Okay.
Kind of looking at my notes. Just do 25 first. Just do one.
Okay. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her.
Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it.
This is real good. I got the same notes that Joy uses. It is interesting to note that the Lord commanded the men to love their wives and the wives to respect their husbands. This is because women tend to relate to others more on an emotional level of love, while men relate to others more on a level of mutual respect. Men don't have to be like their associates, and they don't have to like their associates in a business world to get along with them. If mutual respect is present, men can tolerate big differences. In general, women are not that way. They are more concerned with having a good relationship with others than men are. Because of this, if not warned, men will give women what they themselves naturally crave, which is respect, while women will give men what they naturally crave, which is love. In doing this, the basic need of the partner will be lacking, and the spouse will not understand why. The wife will say, "I love him," not understanding that he needs respect, and the man will say, "I respect her," not understanding that she needs to be loved. Men often evaluate respect with love. Husbands may think that because they're honoring their wives, provide for them, and protect them, they are loving them. It is an action of love, but there's more to love than that. But the average wife wants to be loved and loved on and more intimate level. Likewise, women think that because they are affectionate to their husbands, that's enough. Yet men also want to be respected. Any thoughts? I'm gonna tell you something right now. If we'll listen to that right there, if we'll listen, if we go back and think about relationships in the past, if we listen to what we're supposed to be doing, it helps.
Makes a big difference.
1 Corinthians chapter 13, love is patient, love is kind. If you put that up front with your marriage, you're gonna make it work. I know we was just talking. It's so easy for our flesh to want to say things sometimes, but who suffers what we say? Right? I popped my mouth off and upset her. It don't make my day better. That was a dumb move. And after you go through it long enough, you go, "Hey, I ain't got to do that. I ain't got to say nothing." I've made her mad at me because I won't even talk about something sometimes. It's like, I ain't arguing. That's not going to happen. But I would rather not say anything than say what my flesh wants to say, because it's all down here from there. at least if I don't say anything for a little bit and both calm it down and then talk. It's a lot easier. Any idea, any thoughts or anything else you want to add to that?
It's good to just, if you're angry at each other, just don't say nothing and take a breath.
Never try to fix a problem while you're mad.
No.
Never. Don't do it when you're tired either.
Do you think it has to do with age too?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe maturity?
Yeah, we mature enough that we learn to keep our mouth shut. We didn't know how to when we was younger. I'm just gonna put it out there.
I mean, you know, like when you like Moses' age, and then when you like in your 20s and 30s and you popping off,
Oh, yeah.
all that stupid stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, think about how many people you dated when you was young. It didn't matter, you know, you break up and go about your business and go on but I mean, you know, not when you get married, you got something to work on. And it's every day. It's every day.
It costs too much to get out of it.
And it's every day. It's,
She said you could say that again.
That's the truth.
yeah. I said Sunday, and I know it come from, I gotta go back and find it. But the number one reason there's so many divorces is because we choose who we want to be with.
Say that again.
And we don't pray about our soulmate. And we don't wait on God to put them in our life. We choose somebody.
Right.
And we choose them because we was, and
Choosing for the wrong reason.
wherever you was going, whatever you was doing, they was there and they was doing those things.
There you go.
All right, now let's talk about why we have problems. Because one of us grows up a little faster than the other one sometimes, and we stop doing those things, and what happened to the relationship? The relationship was those things. They don't have a relationship between themselves.
Well, the problem now is most people have relationships with lust.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's,
It's
Well,
not
just
for
because they look good in uniforms don't mean they're gonna look good in uniforms when they're 34 years old.
100%.
and that's,
Yeah, what you just said.
100%.
I look at my uniform.
Yeah.
well,
You still
And
young.
get to know that person.
oh, yeah.
Oh, they'll
And
change.
get,
They'll
I
change.
understand, but I'm
But-
just saying, like, my biggest tip to anybody is get to know that person.
Oh, yeah.
Like inside and out.
That dating is finding out that they take a bath 7 days a week. Do they wear deodorant? Do they have life insurance? Do they work a job? I'm serious.
Children do that.
I'm serious.
How many
You better find out.
How many children do they not know?
How
about?
many do they
Oh,
want?
did I say that?
How much
And-
land they got?
And, you know, it's,
How many cars they got?
but, you know,
What football teams do they like?
My wife-
That'll decide a home.
my wife, well, it shouldn't. It
I'm
shouldn't. It
just
shouldn't.
thinking.
We was on our way to church tonight. Lisa said if people held on to their Bible as much as they held on to their phone, this world would be a lot better place.
Amen.
But if we would put our phones down and spend time with our family would be a lot better.
100%.
I mean, you know, I didn't even have a phone for a long time. They come up with flip phones and had to have one for work and this and that. And I'm like, I don't want somebody to be able to get a hold of me when I get off work. I'm out there on the farm. I don't want to be bothered. And then, you know what? I don't go nowhere without it. But it's a good tool. I mean, I got my commentary on here tonight, and it's great. But that cannot consume your life. Something's gonna lack when that right there consumes your life.
Some people don't, kids don't know where you have to dial it, you know, and it hung on the wall, and then you had a cord that would go all the way through the house, just about long cord, so you could talk.
And hanging up on somebody was dropping his cord down on the wall.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know that about
Yeah,
So-
they do. Yeah,
Oh,
they do.
okay.
So
Yeah, they do.
Oh, yeah, that was
I don't
good.
remember who it was, but somebody who was a little bit younger than me said, "How did we used to find our way around?" I said, "Well, we used to use maps. We used to use maps."
Grandma.
But another thing you used to do, you used to remember how to get places, and now you don't have to because you can put it in on there and go,
All the numbers.
"Oh yeah."
Cody makes fun of me because I can't give you no street names.
I can give you landmarks to wherever you want to go, though.
There's a squirrel in the tree. When you get there.
Ronnie used to give me directions, and he would tell me, and I'd say, start with get in car, back out of the driveway, go to, I call that
The
town.
beer can on the side of the road.
But now you drive yourself around all the time because you have to, and look how good you do.
Yep.
See what I'm saying? But you don't do things and you lose it. You lose it. And that's what I'm talking, that goes back to our marriage. That goes back to our relationship with people. We need to spend more time with our families. That's a big deal for me right now. And one person can't make it a certain way. Everybody that I know has one member in their family that's the glue that holds the family together. Most families. And when that person passes away, things change. It changes big time. And I don't understand why we can't forgive and forgive one another. One another for what they've done, and let it be bygones and not hold on to stuff. And there's just certain things that some people ain't gonna tolerate. But kind of going on a rabbit trail right there, but it's a fact.
Usually grandma's.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Usually blue.
Oh yes. Yep.
I got two grandsons that don't even know some of their cousins. And when I was growing up, your first, second, third, and fourth cousins sat in.
Is anybody here have a family reunion? Have you been to a family reunion in the last 5-10 years?
Not anymore. We just
Exactly.
That's it.
Exactly.
They don't have.
We used to do it and I'd see people and I'd say, ain't no way I'm kidding all these people. I don't know all these people. They come from everywhere. But you had the opportunity to get to know people. They was in your family. But let's do 26 and 27.
So that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, that he might present the church to himself in glorious splendor, without spot or wrinkle, or any such things, that she might be holy and faultless.
Go ahead, man.
That he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish.
This note says, the verse is saying that the way the Lord sanctifies and cleanses us is through His Word. The Word of God is the water that cleanses. Jesus spoke of this, of the Word cleansing us in John 15, verse 2 and 3. Christ loved the church and gave Himself for it. He set it apart and cleansed it by His Word. The Greek word used here for word is rahim. I'm not going to try to say some of these words, some of these names, and means things spoken. It's talking about the word. What a wonderful illustration this is of a man setting his wife apart by honoring her with his word. A wife will try to live up to that which her husband speaks over her. Now this has to be spoke out loud. This can't be something that's spoke over here in the corner and she don't hear what you're speaking over her. That don't work. It's just like praying out loud together. That works. If his words are words that edify and build her up, she will want to live up to those words. If the words are words that tear her down, he will discourage her and cause her to be unresponsive to their relationship. Anybody got anything else they want to add to that? Sometimes, and the biggest thing I do is take long breaths, and my wife says, "Did you just long breath me?" Not no more. I just taking a big deep breath. Joy says, "Breathe deep, in and out."
Yeah.
But I would rather take that deep breath or that long breath and not say anything. That breath didn't say nothing. May have said I may have said something like I'm disagreeing or I have a hard time with this or whatever, but there was no word spoken.
But it's the sound of it.
Well,
I didn't believe so.
Exactly.
I told you, that's why I called it. I'm just doing what
There's a
Joy said
difference
do.
and
Breathe deep.
yeah, and then a breath like she's talking about.
Yeah.
That's it, Garrett.
I'm gonna have to start breathing in instead of out. So it don't sound like that.
Speak for your nose.
Remember, when you take a deep breath, that's supposed to help you live longer.
Yeah.
So what are you saying you're gonna do?
Ooh, Lisa.
Gonna get you in trouble.
Lisa, Johnny walking home.
See? No, my truck's out there.
Oh,
And my keys are right there.
I got
Lisa
you.
walking home.
Brianna, take me home. I got you, Lisa. See?
It's up in the trunk.
Verse 26, some people see the church as getting weaker and weaker with Jesus snatching it out of the earth just before it dies. Hold on a minute here. That's not what Paul presents here. The Lord is not coming back for the weak, pathetic, and defied bride. He's coming back for the glorious church. Certainly we are supposed to be as chaste and holy as possible. The flesh as possible in the flesh for the Lord. But the gloriousness and victory described here is beyond our actions. This describes the spiritual condition of the church that exists regardless of our performance. That'll cause some people to get upset at some other churches. It ain't according to our performance. We talk about this all the time. It comes up quite regularly. It's not up to our performance. It's what Jesus did. It's what Jesus done for us. Our flesh still fails, and in our flesh we don't please God. Another note on 27, my good wife wants to be glorious without spot or wrinkle for her husband. She will stop at nothing to make herself beautiful. In this passage, the difference is that the bride can do nothing to make herself beautiful. This was the work of Christ upon the cross, as he gave himself for the church that made her washed, cleansed, glorious, without spot or wrinkle. And, excuse me. Oh, this app.
Did you get an ad or something?
That's the worst.
It was the work of the cross of Christ on the cross, as he gave himself for the church that made her washed, cleansed, glorious, without spot or wrinkle, and set apart for him, set apart to him. When I expanded it, it goes all the way back up to the top. I hadn't gotten used to this yet.
What's your version saying
For which one?
for what he just
20 or 27.
Bible for dummies.
It says, Christ himself did this to bring us to himself. Hold on. Christ himself did this to bring us to himself as a beautiful group of his people. His church would belong to him completely. It would be pure without anything bad to spoil it.
Amen. Anybody got any other notes? Well, we ain't got 30, and we'll get to 30, I'm gonna read one that goes to 25 through 30. Go. What was the last one you read, Rita?
27.
Okay, go 28 through 30.
Even so, husbands should love their wives as being, in a sense, their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself. For no man ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and carefully protects and cherishes it as Christ does the church, because we are members, parts of his body.
So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherished it, even as the Lord the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones.
Paul used the way Jesus loves us and views us as an example of how husbands should love their wives. The Lord doesn't see the church as glorious because of its actions. Ephesians 27 we just read. He is seeing by faith. Likewise, men ought to love their wives in the same way. Bad actions on the part of the wife are not an excuse for the husband to walk out of love. It ain't only on them, it's the other way around too. It takes two loving folks to make it work, and two forgiving folks, with Jesus right in the middle of it. We could get into a lot here. We could go on for days.
Johnny, can I read this?
Yes.
Says the cornerstone and building stones accents the foundational value of Christ to everything the church is and does, as well as Christ's value to the unity of believers. Love is to be the mortar which solidly holds the living stones together.
Amen. Yep. And it can't be, love is not just a word, it's an action. And I can only talk about what goes on between my wife. When I say something sometimes to her, she goes, that ain't you. That is not, you would not say this. I've got something else going on. I said something on, I just kind of threw something out. She's like, that ain't him. Something's going on. So she would tell me, I didn't say anything to you because I knew that wasn't your answer. I knew that came from somewhere else. You don't do that normally. But see, we've been around since the dirt was cleared or white, and we played with it, got it dirty. We've been together forever. And those things you do learn about one another. You know things you don't say and things you don't do. And everything helps. It may sound like just a little bitty thing, but that's love for her to hold her tongue because I said something I wouldn't normally say and recognize that that's not me. Whether wherever it came from or because whatever it came from, it still helped our marriage because she didn't come back at me and it didn't go nowhere. It didn't escalate. Everybody in this room has had problems with a spouse of some kind. And you think about how we act when sometimes it's just one word changes everything. But your actions speak louder than words ever speak. Every time. You can tell somebody you love them, but you show you love them, and they'll know.
That's right.
They'll know. Verse 28. This chapter gives us two examples of how marital love should be. Paul uses the example of Christ's love for his bride, the church, in Ephesians 25, and 29, and the example of a man's love for his own body, Ephesians 5, 28 through 29 and 33. A man man may not like the way he looks or may hate his personality, but he does cherish his body. He'll go to great lengths to cool his body when it's hot and to warm it up when it is cold. He avoids pain, and he is well aware of how he indulges in his appetite. He ought to love his mate with such devotion. There is one major difference between a man loving his own body and a husband loving his own wife. To love one's own body is natural. To love one's own wife is not. The reason that loving one's wife is unnatural is because the sense of sin is selfishness. The prophet Isaiah tells us, all we are like sheep have gone astray and have turned everyone to his own way. Isaiah 53 verse 6 emphasizes mine. Because of sin, love for someone else is abnormal. But for us, have not grown up with godly examples of loving others, so we just naturally continue on in a selfishness and selflessness that seems to come from effortlessly good intentions. Good intentions won't break this tendency. God's kind of love must be learned. It requires God, the author of love, 1 John 4 verse 8, to teach us to love others the way we naturally love ourselves. Anybody got anything we want to add to that? That was verse 28. I want to read my footnote in my Bible. It goes from 25 through 30. It says, Paul devotes twice as many words to tell the husbands to love their wives as he tells the wives to submit to their husbands. How should a man love his wife? He should be willing to sacrifice everything for her. He should make her well-being from primarily importance. It's his primary importance to him. He should care for her as he cares for his body. No wife needs to fear submitting to a man who treats her in this way. He should take care of her as he cares for his body. No wife needs to fear submitting to a man who treats her in this way. You said I'm on 30. We'll skip 30.
That's another good point. People nowadays think marriage is 50-50. Sometimes it could be 80-20. Sometimes it could be, 100. What your wife can't do, you pick up the slack for her. If you're having a bad day, she'll pick up your slack. So it goes both ways.
That makes it a lot easier. I know of several couples, if the wife puts the clothes in the washing machine, the husband's gotta go put them in the dryer. If he folded the last load, she's gotta fold the next load. If he done the dishes last, she's gotta do dishes next. I mean, then that's how they live their life every day.
I told Ronnie not to wash my stuff, cause he threw it in the dryer. Don't do that. I wash it myself.
But, that's what they do. And it's almost like kids. Well, I done it last time.
Yeah,
Do you know how long it takes you to fold a basket of clothes?
if you don't wanna do it a long time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A real long time if you got stuff.
When the kids was little, Lisa would tell them to fold rags and towels, and go there, grumble, complain, that thing would sit on the couch over 10, 15 minutes and wouldn't touch it. I'd take and dump that thing out on the couch and stand there and fold them. 5 minutes I'd have it put up. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
5 minutes. Now we're gonna talk about something for 15, 20, and we're gonna argue about it and not do nothing. It takes 5 minutes to do it. But just like a lot of other things, you know,
You must not have any.
well, you know, how many times is it being, well, they don't seem to be in too good a mood today, I might not talk about this today. And let something go on a little longer. What happens?
Yeah.
It adds to it. So get the mutual grounds where you're at, figure out how you can get this to where you can talk about things. And now let's talk about this and work through this. When we, and putting things off and waiting to talk about it, usually some other things come along. Why is that? Because one person's already upset with another one, and Satan adds to it. Next thing you know, you're not talking about the thing you was upset about. You're talking about all the things that Satan turned you on to. You're not talking about the real thing you're upset about. That gets brought up later on down here somewhere, if you ever continue to talk. And it's sad that, I mean, I've seen a bunch of people's marriages and I go, I don't see how y'all's marriage works. But I don't know what they do. They talk to each other all kinds of crazy ways and act all kinds of crazy ways towards one another. But there's something there because they've been married 45 years, 50 years.
Comfortability.
And I know. But I don't know how to overcome some of the stuff they say, but it's like they're accustomed to it. I know when I was a kid, my grandma and grandpa, one set of them, they got into it, and I was hearing them say, I just came home from work and pulled in the driveway and went up on the porch. And I was hearing words come out of both of their mouths I wasn't supposed to be hearing. So I went back and got in my truck and I left. I went home. A little while later, I went back up there, and both of them were sitting on the couch, drinking a Michelob, watching Lawrence Welk, holding hands.
Oh, Lawrence.
I said, well, I heard Lawrence Welk on. It was quiet in there, so I went in. And I sat down. I had to go check on them because I know what I heard. But they believed in saying what they had to say at the moment, get over it, and go on. And they would just tell each other how they felt. And then they didn't bring it up again. We done handled that. We done took care of that. Let it go.
Yeah.
Now, it ain't gonna work for us. We ain't gonna do that. Why do we want to say something out of anger and can't take it back? Can't really get that back. Why do we want to do that? So that's why I will be quiet. I would rather say what the Lord would have me say that He can use to help me in my scenario than me saying in my flesh something that He can't fix. Because I said it. It wasn't His words. It was mine.
No, the person never forgets.
Exactly.
They're always in the back of
You know, they might forgive you, but they won't forget what you said.
Right.
And it teaches your spouse how you really are. So,
Your kids too.
oh yeah, that's the worst. That, to me, that's,
If your child sees his daddy treating his mom a certain way, he's gonna think it's okay to teach his. The vice versa with the daughter.
Yep.
She's gonna think it's okay for her to be treated that way.
yep,
And that's not okay.
and it's huge.
It's
That,
very-
that is
it's definitely
tremendous.
not- Yes.
We could talk about that all
Yes,
afternoon.
Absolutely.
Because I've had a conversation over and over again with the guys at work talking about this subject. We was born into a family, mom and daddy, and mom and daddy had certain actions. Then if we had siblings, they had actions. And then we get older and we go to school and now we have all these peers. Now we learn all these worldly things. Now, if we've been taught this, we're getting what we need. If it started at home with mom and dad, and then with our siblings, and then peers. But how many of us in here actually got that? I assumed something about somebody going to church one day, about them going to church when they was a kid, and they said, yeah, my mom and dad dropped me off and drove off. What? As a kid? Okay. They couldn't talk to you about what you heard in church because they didn't know. They couldn't explain stuff because they wasn't there. But, okay. I said, I apologize just as soon. I said, well, I wouldn't even brought it up if I'd known that had been the case. But anyway, but we learn from what we see our parents do, our siblings do, the people's older, uncles, aunts, what they do. We learn things. And then we have to learn how to get rid of them because they become a habit. Because usually if y'all we live all out there on the farm. All of us is right there. So we see what everybody does and how they do, and it's kind of every day, and it's like, you know, I'm glad that works for you.
Well, you know how,
It ain't working in my house.
you know how a lot of times when young people get married and stuff, and it was for us because we were all together a long time, but money's always kind of like one of the things you argue about a lot is money. And people thought, if you talk to somebody like at work or something, me and Ronnie, I don't know, maybe we were old fashioned, I don't know what, but we always put our money together, our whole married life. My check and his check, we had one checking account, but then some people would say like, you know, well, I work for my money, he ain't getting my money, blah, blah, like that, you know. And I don't know how people are now, but we always put our money together, and people thought I was crazy, or we were crazy, I guess, because they just didn't do stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's how we did.
Well, when two become one, let's go back to the beginning of this thing when I was saying, if you pray for the spouse that you need, that God wants you to have, and you have that person, that's easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you choose who you want, and you made a bad selection, and they got bad characteristics with money,
Absolutely.
then you don't want to share that.
Been there, done that.
So we can get this is one of these things we could talk all night on this. But
And
that's exactly why I hear people talk about getting married after knowing somebody 3 weeks.
Wow.
I hear about this. Okay, that is perfectly fine if God orchestrated that. But if you've done that yourself, I say it ain't gonna work. But if God put that person in your life and you knew that was it, and you felt in your spirit that was that person, that's the only way it's gonna work. Because you ain't gonna figure nobody out in 3 weeks.
Amen.
Nobody. And
I met him in a club, and when we started dating, believe it or not, Sergeant Pepper's. You heard
Yeah.
Sergeant Pepper's. That's where we met.
Ronnie in a club.
That's where we met.
oh, you
But
don't
when
even know.
after we got married, after we got married,
I was the
all
waitress at
that
Peppers.
all that stopped. All that stopped.
Real
And he said, "We're not going nowhere that our kids can't go." It just
See?
been that way.
Well, see?
Did one of y'all-
And that's what I'm talking about. but see, that didn't have no effect on your kids.
Man, we talking
I got
about
pictures.
times now.
I can bring you pictures and show you.
Oh, don't, no, you
Did I sidetrack now?
No, tell
Yourself.
that story one more time, Mel, listen to this.
Yes, sir.
So,
We
back to
met,
the club.
we met at Sergeant Pepper's, and at the time, and I didn't know, I think for a long time, he actually wanted to date Jean, my sister Jean, but me and him, let me tell you, the things you do back then, I had on a tube top thing, you know what I'm talking about, with no bra, you know, you just did stuff like that.
So that's why-
That was the code back then.
But yeah, but we dated,
My daughter.
and when we got married, we just quit going. We started going to church, and he said, we're not gonna go nowhere that we can't take our kids, and that's what we did, you know. Cause we had Jamie when we got married,
Yeah.
and then Mandy come along later, but we didn't go nowhere that they couldn't, the club stuff was over.
Yeah.
While we went there and done that to start with. Ronnie used to be a bouncer, believe that. Yeah,
Oh, I can. I remember one up there anyway.
yeah, he was a bouncer.
Oh,
He
sure.
went down.
But you know what? It may sound bad. She used to bring up Peppers and Jerry's and all these other. You young people don't know about any of this stuff.
I was trying to Google it, I can't even find it.
It don't exist no more. That place don't even exist. The building's still there.
The building's still there.
If the building's still there, that's right. Yes, ma'am. But the thing is the generation is different
Oh, yeah.
than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
You know, back then you could, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, no disrespect to no one, but you could go to a club back then and not have to worry about a bullet flying through the air.
Oh,
The worst thing you had to fly about is a beer bottle flying through the air once in a blue moon
Yeah.
in Rowan County coming acting out like Barney Fife or something, you know. And I mean, once in a blue, but and you met some nice people up there, people that I'm still friends, that I
Oh, yeah.
still know today. And some of them are still, some of them come preachers. There's some preachers that come out of places like that.
Yeah.
And that don't mean nothing. But
Exactly.
just because you got, just like y'all said before, Jesus went into the places like that and talked to them. That don't make you a bad person or anything any different, you know, than anything. And I mean, but it just, people don't understand that. They just too easy throwing rocks.
Yeah.
Oh, who was
Well-
Paul? He was killing Christians.
Yeah.
Christians.
Paul was on his way when he run into Jesus on Damascus Road to go kill some more Christians.
Yeah.
He wasn't done. He was going to go do it some more.
He wasn't worried about his brother. He was trying to kill him.
But Gail's story changed when her and Ronnie got married.
Yeah.
We're not going to go do this if our kids can't go.
We did.
If our kids can't be there, we're not going there. Same thing whenever Cole and Michaela was little. If they couldn't go where we was going, we didn't go. Her mom kept Cole and Michaela's son when they was little, and maybe a few other people every once in a blue moon. They're our responsibility.
Yeah.
I don't need time away from my kids. I already have time away from them because I go to work and work 60, 70 hours a week. I need to have time with my kids when we get home. So, and we can control what goes on under our roof, but we can't control what goes on under somebody else's roof. And they're going to hear and see and say things that they hear people say and what they see them do, and they're going to learn to do it. Now you've got to deal with that's just something else to deal with.
The last time my kids were over there.
Well, I mean, in some cases that can be the case. And I've always said, and this is something kids suffer when there's a divorce. Kids suffer.
They do.
There's either one tries to outdo the other one, or one does nothing and one has to do it all. I've seen too much of it. I've been involved in too much of it. And I hear people, say, well, there ain't no sense in me doing anything because this. I said, no. You're still a parent to that kid. You're not just opting out on that person. You're opting out on that kid, your kids. And, that gets some people upset. But you're responsible for that. You're responsible for that kid. Nobody else is. The two that brought them kids in the world, everyone's responsible. Take care of them kids. And I told you, I said it Sunday, it just blesses me for Cole, 33 years old, 34,
33.
33. Come up, lay his head on my shoulder, love you, Pops. Just like, and he'll lay across her lap, scratching his back, just like he did when he was a kid. But that cost a relationship.
Good hell, too.
Well, yeah, but you know, we get back in return what we give to our kids. You know, and I know there's all kinds of relationships out there with people's kids and things going on, but what made that away? Did we love them with words, or did we do it with actions? Our kids don't forget nothing either. Kids don't forget nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Especially now.
Let's do, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. We're gonna save 31 through 33. We're gonna have, next Bible study's gonna be off the chain too.
Can I say something?
Yes.
You know, you were talking about your actions and stuff. I don't know, many people don't know my story, and that's okay. But I was in a relationship, and it was not what it was portrayed to be in church.
No.
I'll just leave that at that. But I am a 100%